Seamless revolutionized food delivery by letting you order takeout online rather than talking to a person on the phone. And now, we're thrilled to introduce our newest innovation, Seamless No Human. Simply select No Human on your order, and a delivery person will place the food by your door, knock, and then sprint away so that you have absolutely no chance of human interaction. But we don't stop there. We realized that when you reach down to grab the bag, there could be a human in your hallway. That's why your first No Human order will include the Seamless Food Claw, so that you can grab your food
All right, I'm
without
sold.
even
Let's
the
all buy
possibility
it right
of-
now.
People of the internet, welcome to Cordkillers. Our mission is to report the intel from the front lines of the cord-cutting revolution so that you don't have to deal with humans anymore, but can decide what you want to watch, where you want to watch it, and what damn device you want to watch it on. I'm Tom Merritt.
Hey, man, I'm Brian Brushwood. More importantly, I think they're onto something. I think that there's no way that the cord-cutting revolution will ever end up with any aspect of it that we'll regret. I don't think that we'll end up being overcharged by the time the dust settles. I don't think that the powered money interests will have more power. I think that it will all be sunshine and roses for the rest of our lives.
And that's why we bring you this episode of Cordkillers entirely human-free. Let's introduce our first guest, Anthony Carboni from We Have Concerns. Thanks for joining us, Anthony.
Oh, hi. I want that so badly, Seamless No Human. I know
yeah.
it's a joke, but it's also a thought that I have every day of my life.
Well, and what's funny is like, it's not that I think all of us hate the contact of other humans. I think that we want to dictate the time and location that we have to turn on interacting with other humans, right?
Yeah, I want them to go one step further and bring back the pneumatic tube. And I just want like a pneumatic tube system that's just gonna, okay, I ordered Thai food. Okay, I got an Amazon delivery. Just thunk, thunk, thunk.
Yeah, my wife just got back from Japan where she was for work, and she said one of the things she loved is the limitation of human interaction they encourage there. You can just get anything from a vending machine.
That's amazing.
It's a beautiful place.
Do you have any of that drone phobia that's been going around? You have the touch of the drone phobes?
You know, I had a little on my back, but I used a salve.
Yeah. What about you, Anthony? You're afraid of drones?
No, I don't care.
All right, I'm with you.
I don't care, man.
All right, this is ridiculous. Enough about no humans, enough about drones. Let's get serious and talk about an Apple rumor in our primary target.
I see what you did there.
Okay, so here is the long storied journey of Apple rumors from last week. Since last we spoke on Cordkillers, folks, the Wall Street Journal suggested Tuesday that they know some people who tell them Apple will launch a 25 or thereabouts channel service for $30 to $40 a month sometime in autumn. NBC will not be parts of the talks, though, and probably not show up on the service because Comcast and Apple aren't getting along these days. Meanwhile, Mark Gurman at 9to5Mac, who's got a very good track record on this sort of stuff, says that an NBC app is coming to the Apple TV sometime in the second half of 2015, as well as the Xbox and the Fire TV. It's already available for Android and iOS. And then BuzzFeed said on Friday that not only will there be this Apple TV service Wall Street Journal is talking about, but a new Apple TV piece of hardware will be showed off at the WWDC in June. It will include an app store, so you won't be stuck with just what shows up on the Apple TV. It'll run on an A8 chip. It'll include Siri, some more music options, and integrate with HomeKit to also be a hub for your home automation.
Man, there is a lot to process here. First, let's go in reverse order. First of all, I think the addition of Siri in the living room environment is a smart option. I think that Amazon is onto something with their, is it Echo? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
I think they're onto that.
Or you call her Alexa, and I just turned on everyone who has an Echo.
Right on. So the idea that there's this always omnipresent...
Alexa, add chocolate chips to shopping list.
Somebody's cursing you right now.
Xbox, quit game.
No! So, number one, I think that's a smart move. I think that we are all kind of welcoming into this idea. And to me, it all goes back to Jarvis. It's all Jarvis. We want Jarvis. And pretty soon, there'll be a licensed version of Jarvis that you'll be able to get. But back from that, what's interesting to me is we seem to have three different tiers of over-the-top cable services. And we've talked about how we think that this has been coming for a while. You've got the low end with Sling TV. and it has very specific partners. You've got the high end with what's the Vue, the PlayStation Vue, at around $50, and then you got this at somewhere $30 to $40. Number one, do you think there's a place for a small, medium, and large chopping up of the market, or do you feel like one of them is going to be the clear winner, and if so, which one? Anthony.
Wow. I have to say that Sling, and I don't even watch much TV, but the value offered for Sling is just not enough. Because I'm thinking from a point of view of like, okay, well, if I'm going to jump in and start watching a lot of TV now, and I'm going to actually be paying for TV specifically, because right now I just pay for specific series, but if I'm going to start paying for networks again, I really do want that like buffet of networks that I'm used to from the cable companies.
Well, and that's why I think Sling might have the better idea in a way, is they're saying, look, to the Anthony Carbonis of the world, we're not going to try to replace that. Just pay for the shows you want to watch. We're going to try to cater to the folks who say, I would cut the cord and just buy the shows I want to watch, but that doesn't get me these live events that happen in real time, or that doesn't get me just turning on a channel like HGTV and having it in the background, or a news channel that's covering things as they're happening, and Sling covers all of those things. Apple seems to be striking the middle ground here, saying, we're going to do some CBS, NBC, well, not NBC, obviously, but CBS, ABC stuff, but we're also going to have some of this binge-worthy stuff, and we're going to try a new box. To answer your question, Brian, I think it's actually right for us to have small, medium, and large options, because we don't know which one of these is actually going to end up working, and maybe more than one of them will.
Well, but do we want a small, medium, and large option from 3 different option providers, or do we want a platform we like that is modular enough to give us those options?
Well, and this is the thing, right? Is everybody staking their territories. They're placing their first bets on the great roulette wheel of a post-cord cutting revolution. And in this case, Apple is making a curious bet in my decision by going for the middle, because oftentimes when emerging brands start happening, you normally you see divergence, you see separation, you see one that gets a reputation for being cheap and effective and another that has a reputation for having a high quality experience. Normally the mushy middle gets squeezed out. And I guess that's what really struck me, is that Apple is normally somebody who always goes for the high end. And instead, they're actually targeting the mushy middle, which I don't know how well that's going to work out for them.
I think we have to wait to see how this thing works, too. And we're going to talk about the PlayStation Vue, which launched on Wednesday in select markets in our Signals Intelligence segment. But the one thing about it that everybody says is it's a whole lot better than your cable TV interface. And that's where Apple generally can shine, is to say, look, it's not about the fact that you have 25 linear streaming channels. We're not just Sling TV app on your Roku. We're an entire integrated service with an app store and the ability to add apps, as well as the iTunes store. And Fire TV, to me, kind of points the way here, where they say, hey, when you search, we're just going to search for the stuff you want to watch and tell you how you can get it.
Yeah, absolutely. I got a Fire TV, the stick, a couple months ago, and I've just been blown away by how easy it is and how flexible it is.
Do you use the voice search on there, or do you manually type stuff in?
No, I don't like voice search.
Oh, dude, you got to try the voice search. It's the one factor that totally sold me on it.
I don't know. I'm so used to voice command and voice dictation over the years, just borking you at exactly the wrong time. Like, like the Xbox start Mass Effect, like that thing. Like, I am just ready for a commercial to turn off my game or turn on my Xbox. Like, I don't like it. I don't like something always listening.
How long have you been this old of a man? Did
For a
this
real
happen
long time.
Recently?
I've kind of got one foot in the Anthony Carboni grave, if that's what you're talking about, though, because I'm not convinced about this stuff. It is nice when it works, but I don't always want to be talking to things, especially out in public.
I mean, first of all, but that's just it, is you're never going to do this out in public. You're going to do it in your living room in front of your kids. And in a world where I could pick up a remote and just say, turn on Wild Kratts, and it knows to spell it Kratts.
And while your children are yelling and talking and everyone's running around, it's going to hear you just fine, right?
Well, it has better than you would think, because again, look, you're talking to a guy who went to the toy store 30 years ago and learned that you had to very specifically speak words to this robot in order to get it to roll forward and play in a cassette tape. But it's like nowadays, I don't think we're there anymore. Like just now before we went live, I was in the middle of talking to Siri and you were mocking Siri, and then over the speaker, Siri heard you and it screwed up my thing. Like that's how good these things are at parsing all that stuff.
No, that's how bad it is.
No, all right.
That's how bad. Yes, exactly. You just made our argument for us. It's when somebody on a TV show says stop, and the whole thing stops.
All I'm saying is that it's better than it's ever been, and the convenience. I mean, how many clicks do you got to do to type in W-I-L, quiet kids, L-D, back. None of that. Just make the kids shut up is like the code word that puts on the cartoons.
And when it gets better, I'll be there. But right now, I don't need to speak to my Fire TV. I also want to say that I think it's hilarious that as I'm watching the show document here, somebody made a note of my F-bomb for later. Somebody shamed me in a spreadsheet just now. How dare you?
That's amazing.
I'm going to have to bleep that for the clean feed now. All right, listen, you know what? Voice recognition is not there yet, but I guarantee, Brian, that it will be there by the year 2067.
Wait, 2067, is that... Well, that's an odd coincidence. That's exactly how many patrons keep us loud, live, and independent right here at Cordkillers.
No, seriously, folks, thank you, every single one of the 2067 of you. As soon as we're off the stream, I'm going to thank you audibly in my room to my Amazon Echo and tell it to email you. But we work on the value for value model. We do better when you get more out of the show, and hopefully that inspires you to keep supporting the show. So go to patreon.com/Cordkillers if you enjoy the show and you are doing well enough to kick us $1 a show.
I'll tell you what, man, it also makes possible a lot of little extras for all of our patrons who make things happen. We did this over on the Night Attack side of things, but, you know, just recently you were able to fly out here to Austin, Texas to participate in our South by So Wasted weekend, and we put together a little 40-minute rock documentary using the Night Attack Patreon funds, and it felt really good to put this out, this little button end that Bryce edited for us. That it's fantastic, and we want to bring all of that to programs like Cordkillers, and we can't thank you guys enough. You guys allow us to dream bigger, accomplish more, and slay even bigger giants. And by the way, real quick, I know this is late for everybody listening to it after today, but today as we record this, Monday, the 23rd, is the last day to vote for our respective programs, Night Attack and Daily Tech News Show, and the Podcast Awards, along with our fantastic friends over at the Frog Pants Networks.
Time now to deliver on that promise that some of you are funding and give you some signals intelligence.
So you claim.
Well, and this is the thing, like this show is now covering a real space. There are competitors doing different things. As we mentioned earlier, PlayStation Vue launched for people in Philadelphia, Chicago, and New York on Wednesday. It's $50 a month, although you can do a 7-day free trial. It gives you live and on-demand access, usually 3-day access on some of the channels, as well as a cloud DVR support. So you just say, I want to record that. It records it in the cloud for up to 28 days. You can watch up to 3 streams at a time. They don't limit you. Sling TV limits you to 1, although you can only watch 1 PS4 at a time, interestingly. They say they have an iPad app in the works right now. It's just PS3 and PS4. Channels are all the big ones except for ABC and ESPN. So you get CBS, NBC, Fox, Discover, Scripps, Turner, Viacom, 60 channels in the base package overall. They actually have regional sports network. If that's your thing, you pay $10 extra and you get the regional sports network in your area. You can pay another $10 extra to get 26 more channels, which are lifestyle channels, music, entertainment, etc. So there you go. Peter Kafka said the question that I want to ask you guys on his Recode article, summing up all of this stuff. Do people really care enough about sports and ESPN specifically to pay for it, or are they happy to pay for lots of other stuff but not ESPN? And now we have a test for that. Sling TV is ESPN for $20 a month plus a bunch of other channels. And then PlayStation Vue is, a lot more channels you want, but no ESPN.
This, man, what an interesting question. First of all, just side observation. If you ever read Malcolm Gladwell's book, The Tipping Point, we're there. It's all going to start moving way fast in the next year.
We're at the point. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. No. Like I think we're past it now. I think we're starting the increasingly speedy descent.
So we should throw our hands in the air and scream now?
Yes, and get ready to do hilarious poses for when it snaps a photo of us as we come across the bottom of the roller coaster. Here's what bums me out about that $50 price tag is that it's just shy of opening up a Coke and Pepsi situation where you could have both, or where it's like, let me get Coke and Pepsi isn't the right analogy. What are two things you always want to get both of? Whatever, it doesn't matter. But
cheese and sausage.
Sure, cheese and sausage. So, title of the episode. So in an ideal world, Vue would be $40, Sling would be sub $20. So between the two, you could have everything you want. You're totally covered. I guess it's kind of a Netflix and Hulu or a Netflix and Amazon Prime thing. But $50 and another, how much is Sling? Is it $20? Is that right?
Yeah.
Like that's almost cable money, in which case, why not just get cable at that point?
Yeah, that's the thing is like, this is the package that I think is the most interesting to me. But after I'm paying for internet through Comcast, I might as well just add basic cable. And I think it would turn out to be about the same amount of money. Yeah. As far as the ESPN question, I think on the PS3, Major League Baseball and the NFL had their apps on there. And if you were a subscriber to their weekly whatever it is, or their Sunday package or whatever it is, you could watch on those apps. And I know that they were like some of the most heavily downloaded apps on the PS3. So I think if any audience is going to do it, it might be the PlayStation audience.
This is not a service for the people who want to cut the cord. Because that, and I realized this when we were talking to the Comedy Film Nerds guys on Current Geek, because they were saying, well, but I have a bundle. So I know it's going to cost me a lot more if I get rid of TV and then add this. And I realized it's really hard to comparison shop right now because of those bundles, especially if you have your telephone service bundled in for whatever reason. And this is why there have been so many of those like, look, just keep the television package. We won't even charge you for it, essentially, is they don't want you to look at this favorably. But for those who already cut the cord and they're like, look, I'm already paying for internet. That's a sunk cost. That's not going away. It's going to be what it is. It doesn't change. Then you say, okay, well, what am I getting for $50 here? And is it worth $50? In which case, it's not so much about saving money. It's about, is this going to deliver over my current situation something valuable, something that it gives me control over what I watch, and don't forget, something I can cancel at any time. I don't have to get into some weird contract where it's like, oh, it's $20 a month for a year, but don't forget to call because then it goes up to $50 a month for a year.
This is the end game. You know, we've talked about how, or at least I've proposed that I don't think that cable companies actually want to keep or think that they have the best deal or whatever. I think the reason that they offer those bundles is just keep them on the hook long enough that we get to the end game. And the end game is this. Now that there are over-the-top services out there, you see them, and dollar for dollar, if you're a fan of TV, if you want to watch in your living room, the cheapest solution will be the same boss that you had the entire time. And I
think this is what's interesting is like when you're talking about the tipping point, this is the tipping point for the technologies, and this is the tipping point for the platforms. But I don't think we're going to hit a tipping point for actual usage until we get to the point where all three of these guys, PlayStation and Apple and Sling, really get into a price war. That's the only thing that's going to make this pop up in the average person's living room, I think. I think right now this is kind of for people who just kind of want to try out new technology stuff.
But again, I feel like that's more of a late stage symptom of everything speeding up. The initial things, the things that are the hardest to do is to get the players in the room to negotiate these early deals where it's like, you know, will you accept being part of our over-the-top virtual cable network package? And they've already done that. So from here on out, you know, stuff like pricing, like that's once we're going 70 miles an hour near the bottom of the hill.
Yeah.
And don't forget, too, you don't have to roll a truck. You don't have to wait for a 4-hour window. for these services, Sling or possibly the Apple one or PlayStation Vue.
Well, because you've already done it, because you're still locked to the cable company.
Yeah,
it's not a second
or
4-hour
whatever
truck.
your internet provider is. But you can turn this on and off on your own. You don't have to go through a retention provider. At least I don't think so on the PlayStation Vue. I know you don't with Sling TV. And you also are fully in control of the device and everything, which is not going to be a benefit for some people, I guess. But if you're a PlayStation fan, this is a dream come true. I don't know. I think it's a more complex calculus, and I don't think it's obviously the thing that's going to light up fires across the United States.
Agreed.
But it also is now suddenly, at least Sling TV, is a competitor to every cable company in the United States. Anywhere there's internet, you can get Sling TV.
Well,
PlayStation Vue is limited to 3 cities right now, so that's a little different. But they are not going to be regionally limited like a Comcast or a Time Warner. They can go to any city they want.
I'll tell you what this makes me think of is the story that we talked about last week or the week before about Verizon offering their over-the-top virtual network for wireless customer, and whether or not that traffic would be zero rated. And so on. We've talked before about how the cord that people seem to be cutting is the LAN cord in favor of wireless internet providers. I wonder what kind of disruptive influence that will be, because for those of us who are committed to having a landline, to having a gigabit or 100 megabit or whatever your broadband service is, then it would make sense to spend an extra $40 and get all of the channels for cable. But if you're somebody who doesn't even have that, somebody who tethers, somebody who does a lot of their stuff without a PC of any sort, does everything on your mobile phone, then all of a sudden offerings that don't involve these built-in packages make a lot more sense. So I'll be interested to see how that affects the outcome.
All right, let's gear up and talk about some gear that's up.
Yeah.
The Chromecast can now take orders from your television remote. This seems like a small thing, but a lot of people are inordinately excited about it. The technology is called HDMI CEC. It is the thing that lets the Chromecast turn on your television and switch it to the proper input when you start casting from the Chromecast. Doesn't work on every television, but a television that has this HDMI CEC it will work with. And now Chromecast has updated its firmware so that your TV remote, if it has a pause play button, can now pause and play the video that you're casting to your Chromecast, as long as the app supports.
So nice.
Yeah. So if I'm understanding this correctly, your Chromecast could already talk to your television and give commands, but now it can listen to your television as well. Is that correct?
Sort of, yeah.
When I first read this, the question I had was, I was like, well, this isn't an IR receiver on the Chrome. It's got to be, I'm talking to the television is sending to the Chrome, hey, play, pause, or whatever.
Yeah, it just added play pause. That's really all it is. Your television before was saying, I'm off or I'm on, and I'm on HDMI 1, 2, or 3, and Chromecast listened. Now it says, I'm playing or I'm pausing, and Chromecast also listens.
Got it. This sounds like a pretty big deal for you, Anthony, to hear your reaction from it.
Yeah, I mean, anything that lets me, if I'm going to start up, what Chromecast is usually for when we use it or when my friends use it, it's to set up, get a playlist of videos going. And then once that playlist is going, you want to throw the laptop away and no longer be controlling through a laptop or through a phone or for whatever. And the ability to just queue up all those videos and sit back and control it the way I control everything else is massive to me.
Yeah, I guess that's part of the reason I'm such an irrational fan of the voice control, because that is there's nothing worse than picking up the wrong controller when you got 18, 15 different controllers. And I mean, this is a step in the right direction, but I don't know that all of my controllers are going to be substitutes for each other's.
But it is something that Anthony, I now totally understand it. For me, it was but I have to go to my Harmony Universal Remote and switch over to the TV profile and then press play and pause. That seems totally inconvenient. But if you don't have that stupid situation that I have, and you just have a TV remote, and you don't want to have to go unlock your phone to pause it, to take a phone call, or answer the door for the drone-delivered pizza you ordered, then this is going to be really handy. I get it now.
The food through the pneumatic tube that's about to arrive. Yeah.
Yeah. You need to be able to pause quickly to go unlock that pneumatic tube.
Guys, the future is so awesome.
It's so close. It's so close.
Ryan, there's so much more in the front lines.
What? Sure you don't want me to talk about what products or
I don't know.
services?
There wasn't anything on that line. Do we have something?
No. You know what? As you guys know, we get independently supported, which means that Tom sells books and I sell stuff over at scamstuff.com. This week we had some thumb cuffs available. Some people didn't know that thumb cuffs are a thing. They're like handcuffs that go just around your thumbs, and they make you claustrophobic. There's something you can put in your back pocket. You can put someone in them at the bar, and they'll be all like, please let me out now. And then, due to this week's Scam School Remix episode, you could show that you can escape in seconds, and that's over at scamstuff.com. Lots of clever gifts.
There's other stuff you can do, and we're not judgmental. And like whatever you do on your own time with your thumb cuffs is like your jam. You know. I'm just saying.
Anthony Carboni saying all the things I can't.
That's all
good.
I'm saying. Not
That's
just
good.
thumbs.
Wait, Tom, would you stop reading that fantastic book?
I'm sorry, I was just so
32?
embarrassed that I missed that segment that I wanted to cover my face. So.
Yeah, people are asking, like, how can they just buy stuff to support us? Guess what? We both already have stores. It may not be Cordkillers branded merchandise, but we certainly appreciate all the cash you could throw at us.
And now it is time for the front lines for
Dang straight.
I was just kidding before. Redditor A. Glidden noticed a hex code in a scene from Archer that he may or may not have drawn that led to a YouTube channel, to a message encoded with a Wigner cipher, to a Craigslist ad, to Krieger's personal Reddit page, to Krieger's Flickr account, to algersoft.net, where there are more puzzles. Not since Lost, the television show, have we seen such attempts at ARG. Does it work for you, Anthony Carboni?
I love it. I love the idea of this stuff. I always like when the people who are making something love it enough that they hide these things and make the things pay off. My question about it is, like, who is A. Glidden? How did he connect all of these dots? Because if you trace back his steps, it's like,
by the way, I'll take an extension preemptively.
Alone is a little rough, dude. I think he works for Archer. I think he is a member.
If he doesn't work for Archer, for whatever company that is, then he most certainly was tipped off by them, because it's as though they made the first few steps so insanely, purposefully obtuse as to just like, this will be a great audition to show how deep it goes. Because the original hex code led you not to a site, but you had to use a letter substitution to figure out the site. And then you went to the site, and the site was a YouTube video, and the YouTube video just had a weird sound embedded. You had to take it into SoundForge and look at the oscilloscope, whatever, where it clearly spelled out a thing. It's like, here's
some
the
of
thing.
it was like Craigslist ads that had like hidden letters and certain things, and it's like, okay. For a hex code to lead me to a Craigslist ad, to lead me to like for this guy to have done that much alone. That's all I'm saying. I'm not trying to be conspiratorial here, but this guy did not work alone.
will. Dude, I've seen the way reality television works. Somebody planted this crap. That's all I'm saying.
Was A. Glidden acting alone on the next Cordkillers?
Sling TV app has arrived on the Xbox One. On a scale of 1 to 10, how exciting is this for you, Anthony Carboni?
I don't care at all.
That's a 0 from Anthony. Tom?
I was 10 excited until I started using it and became 3 excited.
Wait, what?
I
does
don't know
it
if
suck?
it's just me, but every time I launch the damn thing, it picks up where I last left off on the channel I was watching, oddly. And then when I try to switch around among channels, it gets all hung up and stopped, and I have to close the app and then start it open again. It's brand new. It's already been updated a couple times. I'm going to guess they work the bugs out of it. When it does work, though, it's magical, because the Xbox One is where my over-the-air TV is going through. And so now I have my Sling TV and my over-the-air in the Xbox One all working magically perfect together.
Are you sure somebody wasn't whispering within 50 feet of your Xbox, and that may have been causing playback problems?
Xbox have playback problems.
You don't need to give it that command. It has those.
It just does that automatically.
Nicely done.
Hey, The Verge has a cord cutter calculator for choosing your preferred services, seeing how much they would cost you and what channels you get. They also compare it to the average cable bill. Useful? Is this useful?
Oh my gosh,
I thought
in
it
a
was.
huge way. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I'm comparing it to USA Today did a similar, like a flowchart thing. Unfortunately, it was not a very complex flowchart, and it only gave you two choices. You either ended up with, or I guess three, stick with cable, Sling TV, or PlayStation Vue. And it's like, that's not a real chart. That's dumb. And this one looks like it's got a lot more options.
I got moved to the mountains, live off the grid, learn to whittle.
Grow an even bigger beard, it says.
I would say, be honest with yourselves, folks. If you're choosing Netflix on this chart, is that because you don't have Netflix now with your cable TV subscription? Like, if you're already paying for Netflix and cable, you can't say, oh, well, that's a service I need to replace cable, because you're already using it. So only use the things that you would replace cable with to get an accurate read.
So last week, Tom, or maybe it was the week before, we talked about an ad-free online TV channel about science and technology and history from Discovery founder John Hendricks. Well, it launched last Wednesday for $3 a month. Standard definition, $6 a month, high definition, with a 4K level coming later this year. The question is, and I give it to both of you gentlemen, is CuriosityStream worth it?
I have not watched it. I would have to watch some of the content and see what's on there.
I mean, keep in mind, this is from the guy, I don't remember if he was still there. You know, Discovery rode a lot of benefit from having Discovery HD in the early days of HD adoption, where they had a show like, Planet Sunrise or whatever. That was literally just an hour of a sun coming up and pretty pictures in there. So apparently...
They got money. They can play the long game. It doesn't matter what's on there now, I guess.
But
yeah,
this isn't Discovery. This is an entirely separate company.
Correct. Yeah, this is the Discovery founder, but not Discovery itself.
Right.
Yeah. So
he's got a lot of money too. Let's not kid ourselves.
I guess that's the thing. I don't see it. I'll take an extension on this. I don't know. I don't know that it's filling a void that exists. I think it's what he is familiar with. I think it's what he's good at. But I think there's an assumption that may not be accurate, as far as what people are craving out there in the market.
Well, it's the wrong thing in terms of like, we are all starting to get to the point where we pay for one or two streaming services and we're starting to add up these a la carte prices. And it's like, dude, I'm not going to pay you $6 for one channel. Like, that's no longer the rate of exchange that I'm willing to do in most cases. Like, there would have to be something really, really amazing on CuriosityStream that I couldn't get anywhere else, that I couldn't live without.
I mean, that's just shy of adding HBO to your existing cable package, right? Like HBO is like what?
It's usually 12 to 15.
Yeah, and they got dragons and explosions and stuff.
Hey, this CuriosityStream has Vikings, sort of.
Yeah, but so does basic cable.
Oh, okay, not the actual show Vikings that people keep recommending.
No, just a show called Vikings, because you can't trademark that.
Right on.
In addition to suspending their local blackout rule for the coming season, the National Football League of the United States of America announced it will sell rights to the October 25th game taking place in London between the Buffalo Bills and the Jacksonville Jaguars to an internet streaming service. Anthony Carboni, which streaming service should buy rights to this game?
Oh, God, I don't care.
CuriosityStream. No.
I don't know, man.
We're nature.
Like, it's just one game. It's a one-game deal.
Yeah, this is sort of the like, hey, you want to do a deal with the NFL someday? Why don't you buy this one game? We'll see how we work together.
Yeah, I don't know. Who benefits from that other than the NFL?
The streaming partner, if they end up getting an NFL deal out of this later on.
They won't.
I mean, is this an implicit acknowledgement that they can't keep holding it all to themselves, or?
No, this is a threat to the broadcasters that will take an extension. The NFL says, look, we'd really like to just give this to the highest bidder, and you guys have kind of been a drag on this, so we're going to take this one game we have the full rights to right now. We're just going to do it on the internet and see what happens, okay? We're the NFL. Don't argue with us.
Hey man, the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences Industry Panel, that's a mouthful, ruled Friday that Orange is the New Black Season 2 does not qualify as a comedy and therefore will be able to compete for an Emmy in the drama category. Do you think it's true that Orange is the New Black is not funny? Because it certainly seems like they were pitching it that way.
It's super funny, but they have always, over the last 2 years, they have submitted it to the category they knew would be an easier win. That's all.
Well, and the Emmys are trying to crack down on
but
that,
they don't have the stiff competition that they would have with other dramas in the comedy category.
Wait, no, but that's just it.
Can be a mini series. Orange is the New Black can be whatever it wants, apparently. I guess the Emmys are trying to tighten up.
Well, that's a weird way to phrase it, though, and I'll probably run long here. Like, I understand that it's like, let's put it in the category it has the best chance to win. That seems like a biggest fit. But in that case, say yes, it's very funny, but we think it's a good drama as well. But instead, they're like, we have ruled it is not funny enough to be a comedy. Like,
apparently what they ruled was it's 60 minutes long, and they're only allowing a few 60-minute shows to be in the comedy category.
Yeah, all right.
Okay.
That's
well, I do feel like
handled.
spread out over those 60 minutes of most episodes, like there are some laughs, but the laughs that are in Orange is the New Black are big because they're tension-killing laughs.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So it is a drama overall, but there are some really beautiful, wonderful moments of tension-killing comedy that are among some of the best comedy moments on TV today. But I don't know that necessarily makes it overall a comedy. I'm kind of cool with this decision.
I can sort of see it. I just want them to fix the whole miniseries thing first. American Horror Story can be a miniseries
every
somehow.
year.
Well, that's just because it's not a narrative. It's a different narrative arc each year, right?
Yeah, True Detective, Fargo, all those shows. But they're series. They're not miniseries. Because they come back every year. I don't still see Shogun.
Well, we
coming
don't
back
have
every season.
We don't have the culture of telenovelas that they do. Like in Mexico.
They'd call it the telenovela category. I'd be fine with that.
Well, no, our word for that is miniseries. If it has a beginning, middle, and end, and it happens in less than a year, that's called a miniseries to us, right?
I don't know. That's like miniseries to me is like 2 or 3 episodes. That's it. Done. You don't come back for another season.
If they were doing this, and instead of calling it American Horror Story, whatever, if it was from the people who brought you American Horror Story, but it was literally the same cast, same tone.
It's just the subtitle. Like this week on Coven, this week on Asylum, this week
What if they added 2, 3, 4, and they called them sequels? Like, that's basically something that happens with miniseries all the time.
Inspector Truth.
I am okay with this. I don't have a problem with the miniseries thing. I just think that the word miniseries fills the gap for what essentially.
Well, then what about the things that are actually miniseries? We're we're only making 4 episodes of this. It's bigger than a movie, but it's not going to come back for another season. They just get shafted.
I do think people are getting the short end of the stick on the American Horror Story thing. But at the same time, well, American Horror Story had 1 good season as far as I'm concerned, so I'm not very pro-American Horror Story.
The problem's fixing itself.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what's under surveillance besides not American Horror Story. Under surveillance. Game of Thrones finally admits the show will spoil the books. David Benioff, speaking to the Oxford Union over the weekend, said, I kind of wish that there were some things we didn't have to spoil, but we're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. The show must go on. And that's
TV wins. TV wins. TV wins. Screw all y'all.
Yeah.
The show is better. The show is better.
Dude,
it's not
I agree,
as
man.
boring. It doesn't have pacing problems.
By the way, the Rock, of course, being George R.R. Martin's pizza, and the hard place being his NFL draft that that they're stuck between, the two things he loves to talk about the most online.
Yeah, hey man, if you would just write the book, there wouldn't be no issue. I don't think the problem's with HBO here, buddy.
I'm fully okay with this, and I've described this before. I've never had this experience before, but the TV show is so good, I actively wish I could unread the books. And I love the books, but the TV show is so much better that it's like, wow, man, imagine watching this, not having an idea of what's going to come around the corner.
When I'm watching with my fiance and I turn and I look at her, every time something happens that she wasn't expecting, I'm just like, I am so jealous that she got to see it with CG and attractive people without reading through what everybody had for dinner for 30 pages.
Well, for further commentary, let's go to wait, Tom, we're doing a show. What are you reading?
Daggers! Ha! Spoiled the ending for you.
Dang it! Oh my God, I just remembered what scene that is.
Hey, Hulu grabbed exclusive streaming rights for all past and future episodes of the hit show Empire. If you're not watching Empire, you're alone. It's the only show in the last 23 years since Nielsen began tracking such things to grow its audience every single week, every single episode in the demo.
Wow. I had no idea that was the case. That's amazing.
Yeah, and Hulu is in a fight now. They always get the hey, the last 5 episodes, right? That's kind of built in because of who owns them. But they are in a fight to get back catalog for stuff. They lost what was it? Not The Mentalist. What's the James Spader show?
Oh, Blacklist.
Blacklist. I knew it was an ist. They lost the Blacklist back catalog to Netflix. So this is a big win for them because it's a huge show.
Right on, man. Silicon Valley coming back just around the corner.
April 12th. And they've got a smarmy guy who drives a sports car as their VC, it looks like.
Heck yes. I don't know how to feel about Silicon Valley. Ever since I found out that I watched the show out of order and it in no way affected my enjoyment of it, I feel a little bit weird. Like, I watched it backwards and it seemed about the same as watching it forwards.
Yeah. Well, they had two or three episodes that were like the plot point episodes, but other than that, it was mostly just sort of like character filler, which was good. It was really funny.
I guess that's also the nature of character-driven comedies, is that it doesn't matter what order they do things. There's the guy who does this thing, and he does the same thing, whether it's at the beginning or the end of the story.
Yeah, you watched like the final episode first or something, right?
Yeah. And even talked to you about it with
know.
both of us thinking that we were talking about the first episode, and it turned out that at no point did I say anything that tipped off either of us that I didn't even watch the right episode.
I was talking about the first episode, and you mentioned a couple things that made me go, wait a minute. Did that happen?
But it's like it didn't matter because
the last episode has that bit though. It has that brilliant bit in the hotel room.
Yes, where they brainstorm, and it becomes the idea for the new thing. Well, and what's funny is both the first and the last episodes are essentially about guys who have a clever idea and a moment of epiphany and decide to make massive actions happen as a result of it. And so we were able to talk about opposite episodes, not even realizing that it wasn't the same thing.
The one thing that I'm going to say I've been watching before I hand it over to you, Brian, is Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. I watched the entire run, and I didn't intend to. I kind of was watching it because I felt like I wanted to see where it went, and I totally got sucked in and enjoyed it. So everything else that I'm watching is the same stuff I've been watching.
So good.
Yeah, man. I similarly, based on your text where you said like episode 4, if you're either going to like it or not like it based on it. So I watched it. We'll talk about it in spoiler in time. Did watch Better Call Saul. I watched all the rest of House of Cards, and I'm glad you caught up with me as well. Right, Tom?
I did. Yep.
I peeked in on Richie Rich. I watched the first half of the first episode mainly because I don't know if you remember this, Tom. When we were out in L.A., there was a mom of a fan who said, listen, my son is really, really into Scam School. He's fantastic, and it would be great if we accidentally bumped into you. And before Guardians of the Galaxy, we orchestrated an opportunity on his birthday to just run into him at the movie theater. His name's Josh Carlin, and it was awesome to turn on Richie Rich and to take a look at it. He plays like a second fiddle to Richie Rich. It's like he's the money manager for Richie Rich. This kid, he does a fantastic job. I watched about half the first episode, enough to say, I get it. I get what space they're going for. This is like a lot of that Disney programming that my kids have on all the time. I'm going to try to get the kids hooked on it and see if I can make that happen. But it was super cute in a sitcom way, and it was neat to be like, that's the guy whose day I made, which I enjoyed immensely. And I did watch episode 4 of Kimmy Schmidt. Yeah, that's all I got. And a little bit
I kept trying to watch Community, and I kept forgetting.
Yeah, I watched the first half of the first episode, which in a very self-referential way, you could tell the writers had a lot of fun putting together a way to instantly make everything self-referential, to have characters speaking in the hypothetical when they're definitely talking about the actual transition of going to Community going to Hulu or to Yahoo.
Yeah, it was. They could have tried a little harder with that. It was kind of like, let's find the easiest way to orchestrate an excuse to discuss this Hulu thing.
The Yahoo thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of like, all right, guys. All right, you don't need to like hit me over the head with it.
I only saw the first half of it. I'll watch the rest of it, but it's like they were running pretty hard when nobody was chasing them.
It's good. I mean, it's good. It's kind of like, I kind of want to see where it builds from here, because they did take a lot of the first 2 episodes to be like, it's okay that things are different. And it's like, I know that, man. I'm cool with that. That's why I'm still here. Yeah. Let's keep it rolling.
Yeah. I don't know if you noticed, but like I cared enough that I went to an online portal to watch all of this. You don't need to sell me on it anymore, gentlemen.
I downloaded Yahoo Screen on my Roku, and my Roku threw up 4.5 times just trying to get the video started. I know. I'm cool.
Exactly.
Anything else you want to mention that you've been watching, Anthony?
Oh man, Kimmy Schmidt, I watched in a day. I feel exactly the same. It's so good. It's the first, I think, and I'm using Community with this because, like I said, I want to see if Community stops telling us to be okay and starts being Community. But Kimmy Schmidt, I think, is the first time where I've seen a comedy made for a streaming service that could go head to head with any other comedy out now or in the last 5 years.
Well,
Kimmy Schmidt is amazing.
That's also the problem, is that it was actually made for NBC, and NBC essentially passed on it. And so the first 8 episodes were made for NBC, and it's not until episode 9 that all of a sudden they start dropping heroin references and talking about Netflix.
And then it gets even better, but I liked it the whole time.
Fair enough.
All right,
so
let's
watching
get to some
that,
dispatches.
and then just a lot of Archer
go ahead.
and
Sorry, man.
the Eric Andre show.
Yeah.
All right, now let's get to some dispatches. They're from the front.
They're from where?
The front.
The front. Are we at war?
Yeah, with ourselves over which of these wonderful options we would like to choose. Crucial Wax in our chat room right before the show pointed out that said, don't know if you guys have seen this, consider it big in Canada. The CRTC, which is essentially the equivalent of their FCC, ruled that cable companies in Canada must offer $25 basic cable and pick and pay, other words, a la carte, for other channels on top of that.
Man,
Wow.
Tom, I can think of no time in all of history that price fixing has turned out poorly for the consumer. I bet this is going to work out gangbusters, and everyone's going to get exactly what they want, and the moneyed interests who are trying to work through this system will not figure out a way to get weaselly and screw
You get
us all
3
over.
channels of the Saskatchewan Community Television. You get like 4 public access stations, and then 2 of the CBC, and that's great. That's all
like
anybody
And
needs.
12
it's not-
channels.
It's not price fixing. They can charge whatever they want for the pick and pay. And nothing bad ever came out of Canada.
Touche. Well put. What about Ted Cruz? Explain that! Cheap Shots with Brian Brushwood coming to a... sorry. That's all over the news today.
I'm just confused about us receiving dispatches from the front since we were clearly on the front lines like 3 minutes ago.
We've left, and now they had to send us letters. They were like, oh,
We've
by the
been
way...
gone so long that
Yeah,
we're
you
getting
forgot your
pigeons.
letters, and then...
Well, we report from the front lines. That doesn't mean we're at the front lines.
We were at the front lines. Don't short shrift us. Come on. We were there, and then people snuck us envelopes. They're like, read this later.
I just
And then
feel like we're
that's-
Brian Williamsing people right now.
I was at
that's
the
all.
front lines, and I was dropping frames, so I moved away.
Fair enough. Hey, man, to Brian and Tom from Michael, he says, I miss the movie draft. It was one of my favorite parts of the old Frame Rate show, and I love it when you have it on Cordkillers. I wish you did movie draft 4 times a year. Spring, summer, fall, and winter. Bring back the movie draft soon. Good news. I think we're within 2 weeks of doing it. If you guys aren't familiar, we play a little version of fantasy football where during the winters we do the draft here on Cordkillers, and during the summers it's the Night Attack movie draft where that's the big season, and boy, is this going to be a hell of a year. We need to get cracking on that. We'll get the commissioner, Dan Dirks, to put together the list of the official versions, and of course, if you go to Box Office Draft, you'll be able to play along thanks to the fantastic work of T2T2.
Want to get Nick's note in here. Netflix has launched in Australia and New Zealand as of an hour and 20 minutes before Nick sent us the email. He's checked out the library and thought he'd give first impressions. Here's what he says. I think the old guard of Australian streaming industry, QuickFlix and Presto, should be concerned. There's enough overlap with Netflix and Stan, which is the other new competitor here, that their services with their smaller libraries will probably struggle going forward. Secondly, I will be keeping my Stan subscription. Though Netflix has what seems like the largest library, Stan has picked up exclusives like Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, Star Trek, and Amazon.com originals that Netflix will likely not be able to get here for the foreseeable future. Third, while my new Australian Netflix account's library is not as big as my US Netflix account, it is big enough with the most of the checkboxes ticked that it needs that need to be. So he's going to just keep that. He says, overall, I'm happy with their offering here, and I will cancel my US Netflix account. Whoa. Netflix in Australia, $8.99. New Zealand, $9.99. That's a single stream standard def plan. If you want high def, you get 2 streams, $11.99 and $12.99 in New Zealand. And then there's a 4-stream plan called the family option, which also gives you 4K access, $14.99 Australia, $15.99 New Zealand.
Right.
Don't they have like nationalized like bandwidth throttling after a certain point though? No, I thought they had like heavily throttled or limited.
They have a
bandwidth over
lot of bandwidth throttling in Australia, yes.
there. Okay.
But it's not like everything, and it's not everywhere.
Gotcha.
Dan.
For more, ask an Australian.
Dan from Rochester, New York writes us saying that he was just listening to last week's episode and had some thoughts on Verizon's new toenail service. Also, not the name of the service. You talked about the likelihood of it being 0 rated and then went on to question whether or not it would be exclusive to Verizon. He says that he thinks they will not make it exclusive precisely because it is 0 rated on Verizon. And again, we don't know any of this. This was all speculation. He says, as an AT&T customer with pitiful data caps, they would be happy to allow me to sign up for their service to get fed up with his AT&T cap and then try to entice him over to Verizon where he can watch all he wants without having to pay for a bigger data plan. I think that's probably a smart way to assess it.
Dan, after reading your email, which is good insight, my response is, yep, Verizon's going to make this exclusive and therefore not charge for it because it's internal to their network and they don't have to worry about any possible net neutrality violations if they keep it in their network. As soon as they go out to AT&T and say, oh, sure, AT&T people can use it on their network too, then they have to offer it to landline people because how do you restrict it to just other mobile operators? At which point, then when they 0 rated, somebody's going to come in with some kind of net neutrality complaint. So it's just easier to make it an exclusive and say, hey, you want this service? You can get it without compromising your data cap at Verizon, but you can't get it anywhere else.
We also got a tip from Mike from blustery Bloomington, Illinois, who says, I wanted to share a tip that I ran into this weekend. I finally killed the cord. I called Comcast on Sunday. I was expecting to play chicken, as I had in the past, to haggle my bill back to the promo deal. To my surprise, Comcast operator did not pass me to the retention department. He simply walked him through the cancellation process. After this, he asked why he wasn't forwarded to anyone else. The operator explained that the retention department was closed on Sundays. I thought this tip could help other listeners that don't want to go through the ordeal of canceling their cable subscription. Smart tip, man. Cancel on a Sunday if you're serious.
Also, the kind of thing that will force Comcast to open their retention department on Sundays if enough people start taking advantage of this. I could almost guarantee. And then Andy said, I've listened to Brian mention the people whose credit card has expired on patreon.com and thought, wow, what's with these idiots? Well, it turns out I'm one of them. It had been almost 2 months, 8 episodes since I had been charged, and that was about the time I got my new card. Great show, and happy to reapply as a boss. Welcome back, boss.
By the way, PSA, all of you out there, check to make sure that your credit cards are current at patreon.com/Cordkillers. Anthony Carboni, where can we see more of your lovely, lovely face?
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm on Twitter at @acarboni, and I've got a show, I've got a podcast with Jeff Kanata called We Have Concerns. That's every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and you can get that at wehaveconcerns.com. That's it. That's it right there on your very screen. That's what it looks like.
Man, if only there was a place I could see you like on television in the future. Would such a thing ever happen?
Oh, boy. I'll tell you what. Yeah.
And I guess that's all we'll say about that.
That's all I can say. But boy, October, just like keep it open, maybe. Give me 4 hours of your time in October. Not all at once. Maybe like once a week, 1 hour a week. We'll split it up.
That sounds rad to me.
That is it for Cordkillers, ladies and gentlemen. You can find us anytime you want, cordkillers.com. We stream the show live on alphageekradio.com and diamondclub.tv on Mondays at 4 p.m. Pacific. That's 7 p.m. Eastern time. And our email address is cordkillers@gmail.com. We will see you next time.
Hey, guys. Tom and Brian here. We just wanted to say thank you to all of our $5 patrons who keep us loud, live, and independent. You guys make Cordkillers the production that it is.
Your name appears in the video credits and appears in our hearts. And if you'd like to become one of them or see who they are, you can go to patreon.com/Cordkillers.
You'll need to do more than just go there, though. You'll have to sign up and, pledge an amount. But
unless you just want to see who they are.
Well, I mean, you could gawk. That's a little creepy, isn't it?
If you want to be a gawker,
let's go.
It's up to you.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.